I'm just going to talk a little bit about some things that you should know if you're considering installing or trying SteamOS when it launches for third-party hardware, but this also applies to any other Linux distribution for that matter. I've just made a quick little bullet list of things I'm going to run through. First off, software compatibility. There's no Adobe Suite or Microsoft Office on Linux. You'll have to use alternatives, or in the case with Microsoft Office, you could always use Office 365. Next up, when it comes to your GPU, AMD is generally the recommendation because both AMD and Intel GPUs have open source drivers, and it's basically just plug and play. Every Linux system has the Mesa open source project, or just about every Linux installation has the Mesa driver stack installed. It comes with the Mesa driver stack installed, so it's basically just plug and play. As for NVIDIA, you'll need to install the drivers same as you do on Windows. There are 2 open source options and 2 proprietary options. I'll run through the open source ones real quick. You have the NVIDIA open source driver, which is only for Turing and newer, and then NVK, which from what I remember is referencing the NVIDIA open source driver to write their own stack in Mesa, so it can be plug and play. But currently, in order to get that, I believe you have to compile Mesa with the proper compile flag to get that to work. They do have plans to support architectures older than Turing, but I don't currently think that it's fully fleshed out yet. Don't quote me on that. They might have it working, they might not. I don't know. I don't have a GPU that's older than Turing to try it on. And the 2 proprietary options are the legacy driver and then the NVIDIA proprietary driver. Most everybody uses the proprietary driver. I personally switched to an AMD card when I couldn't play a game on my NVIDIA card because the NVIDIA driver broke it for both the open and proprietary solutions. It stayed broken for 2 weeks, and after 2 weeks, I switched to an AMD card. I kind of tracked the issue, and it was broken for 5 months. So I don't think I'm going to use another NVIDIA card on my system while running Linux. But in the future, well, this is why the general recommendation is to use AMD GPUs. Intel GPUs are still relatively new, but I hear that they can, in some cases, they're quite good. Personally, I'm considering getting an Intel GPU simply for the AV1 support. Next thing I want to talk about is game compatibilities. So if you frequently play a game that makes use of kernel level anti-cheat, I recommend checking out Are We Anti-Cheat Yet to see how well the anti-cheat solution is supported in a Linux or a Wine compatibility layer. So we have about, as you can see here, 37% of games that make use of kernel level anti-cheat work on Linux or in a Wine compatibility layer, but there is a quite substantial 63% that are either broken, or in some cases the games or their publishers have outright denied supporting Linux as a platform. And these include heavy hitters such as Fortnite, Battlefield 2042, Apex Legends, and Valorant, and many, many others. So if your game makes use of a kernel level anti-cheat, you might want to check this out just to see if you can even get your game to run. If your game does not make use of a kernel level anti-cheat, then I recommend checking out ProtonDB here. As you can see, many of the top 1,000 games can at least be played on Linux, but as seen here, the Steam catalog, there's quite a few games that don't have any medals. These here are games that haven't either been tested or have been tested by users, but the users just went and played the games instead of reporting how well they worked. So speaking about this, if there are people interested, I am kind of or if there is enough interest, I'm kind of considering setting aside some money and purchasing some games that fall into this category in ProtonDB to check their support. So if you're unsure if you want to try SteamOS or not, or if your game will work, just comment it down below if it's not listed here on ProtonDB. And depending on the amount of interest, I might do a stream with these games, but if there isn't very many, then I might just make a quick video. We'll see where the wind takes me.